Welcome, everybody, to the HWO. I'm Ricky O, and today I am joined by New York Ranger All-Star and fan favorite cult hero, none other than Eddie Johnstone. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ricky.
Eddie, so hockey, you've retired for a while now. What are you doing? Where are you staying? Where do you live? Give us a little details on what Eddie's up to nowadays.
I'm more or less fully retired now. I um, I still live in Vernon, which I have for 60 some years. This was always home for me, and I did a lot of coaching when I first retired, and then I was really getting tired of getting fired because I was right. So I got out of that, and then I went into construction business for about 20 some years, and then I've had enough of that. So the body doesn't the body doesn't do all the stuff it used to do. So it was time.
Yeah, it's time for you to relax a little, enjoy some New York Ranger alumni golf outings, right?
You betcha. I wouldn't miss it.
Who's the best team golfer right now when you go over there? Who's the guy that makes everybody go, okay, he plays every day?
Oh, every day. Oh boy. Well, Dougie Sotart, he was his first one this year, and I think he plays pretty much every day out of Kansas City. Um, I don't know. I
How's
don't
Big
play
Walt
him.
Kachuk on the golf course? How's Big Walt?
I don't think Walter plays. I don't
No?
think so.
Okay.
He just wandered around chit chatting with everybody.
Next time you see Walt, try to get him on the show for me. It's been like 5 years. I've been trying with everybody.
Okay. I
Walt is
actually when we're done here, I'll give you a phone number that you should be able to catch him at.
awesome. I just remember when I was a little kid getting his hockey card, and on the back it says Walt carries dynamite to the mines in the off season. And ever since then, I've been fascinated with him.
You know what? That wouldn't surprise me.
He was a he was a pro. He was 20 years ahead of his time as far as being a two-way center, being able to shut down the other team's best forward and also put the puck in the net. You know, with that bulldog line he played on. What was he as a teammate? How was he in the locker room? Was he vocal? Was he a leader?
Walter was a very dry sense of humor. Uh, he was he really didn't say too much. When he did, you usually listened. But as far as the teammate, he was a great teammate. He had your back. He had your back all the time, and he was always there for you.
When you first came up, we'll get into juniors in a minute, but when you first came up to the Rangers, who was the guys that took you under the wing right away and helped you adjust to being in New York City, especially as a rookie?
Oh, let's see. Probably John Davidson was JD was one of the first ones, and Nicky Fatia was good. You didn't dare turn your back on Nicky because he'd get you doing something. So, but Nicky was good. Then JD was was one of the top guys, and Walter and Steve Vickers was good too.
Vickers, what an underrated New York Ranger in history. That guy, what he was just that was his office, right? They called it Steve Vickers' office within 2 feet of the net. He was the original Chris Kreider. Chris is ripping, not ripping off, but he's copying Steve Vickers pretty well right now with those chip in goals.
Yeah, yeah. Sarge was. We used to call him 3 foot actually. Yeah, if it was outside 3 feet, it was out of his range.
Who was the what was Nicky's best practical joke that you saw the Nick Fatigue pull on people? I remember the hair dryer full of powder all the time on TV. He used to get guys all the time.
Yeah, well, on the airplanes, you didn't dare go to sleep because if you did, it depends. He would shave and cream your hair, or he'd cut your tie, and then if all else failed, he would if he took your shoes off, he'd take one of your shoes, and you may get it back, you may not get it back. So it was that was kind of Nicky's forte.
Nicky was the prototypical kid in a candy store as far as playing as a New York Ranger. You know, playing in his hometown, coming up the way he did, the hatchet in his gym bag stories. I mean, that's such an American dream come true for Nicky. Let's touch on juniors a little bit, Eddie. When you played junior at Medicine Hat, you were a more than a point a game player. You put up some fantastic numbers. I saw 118 points your last year. Who was the big influence in junior? Who was your coaches that really reached out and made an influence on Eddie Johnstone at an early age?
Actually, I'll go back a couple of years when when I started my junior here in Vernon. I played for the Vernon Essos. They were the Tier 2 junior team here, and my coach was Odie Lowe, who did play one game for the New York Rangers. That's a little trivia. And Odie was Odie was your players coach. He treated you very very well, and he always had your back. And when I was always the first guy cut when I went to Medicine Hat, and I could never figure out why, but I was. I was having great camps, and my name was the first one on the list. And so I come back here and I play for Odie, and then my second year here, I went to Medicine Hat, had a great camp, first guy cut. So I come back, and it was New Year's Day. I get a call from Medicine Hat, and they wanted me to come up, and I told them more or less that I wasn't going. God, I was always loyal. I was loyal to whoever I was playing for and with, and we had a pretty good team here in Vernon. And so I called Odie, and Odie came over and we sat down, and he told me, he says, "Hey," he said, "if you're ever going to get anywhere," he says, "you get out of here." He said, "It's a great opportunity for you." And he said, "You should have been there last year." And so anyway, I says, "Okay." So I went, and that was probably the biggest turning point in my career.
Who were some of your teammates and juniors that went on to have good NHL careers, or were that dominant in that time back in the early '70s?
Okay, Medicine Hat, we had Larry McDonald, Tom Lysiak, and then a bunch of guys got drafted by the Rangers. There was Boyd Anderson, Kenny Gassoff, myself, and Bobby Gassoff was there. Brian Maxwell was there. We
That's a
had
couple of tough guys right there, huh?
oh boy, were they ever. Jim McCrimmon, he was tough. The Grizz was a big red-headed kid, and he was really tough. We had a really good team.
Sounds like you had a pretty tough team. Who was your rivals up there? Who was the one barn you went into and you guys knew you were putting up 300 penalty minutes a night?
Oh heck, there was Flin Flon was was kind of a hellish show when we went in there. Uh, Regina, Regina had Sobchuk, and uh, who's that other big defenseman they had? Daly, I believe, played there. No, he didn't. He was out east.
Bob Daly?
Yeah, he was out east. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was out east. Um, Bladen out of Edmonton. But I would say Flin Flon was the scariest building to go into. They still had the wire mesh, and there'd be whiskey bottles and beer bottles and all that good stuff thrown at you. And
Nothing,
we had a police escort out of there a couple times.
nothing like being 16, 17-year-old and getting whiskey bottles thrown at you, huh, Eddie?
It was interesting.
Eddie,
Never
you were a goal scorer and a point guy in juniors, but later on in your career with the Rangers, Jim Gordon summed it up best. If there was a big guy on the ice, little Eddie Johnstone was going to find him. What was it?
Yeah.
The first fight you had in juniors? What was it like? Who was it against? And how did it go?
Oh, the first fight I had in junior. Jeez, that's whew. My memory's not that good, but it's. I think I won more than I lost, though. In
I believe that.
uh, actually, I got kind of spoiled my last year. Um, the year before, we had Lysiak and McDonald and McCrimmon and Gassoff and Maxwell and Barry Dean, and they were all pretty tough. And Bobby Gassoff came up to me one day and he says, "EJ," he says, "you don't have to fight." He says, "Some of those big guys give you a static, hit him with your stick." He said, "We'll take care of it." And so I did it occasionally. And then my last year, those guys are all gone. So I had to do quite a bit of scrapping my last year there. So it was if I'd have stayed out of the penalty box, I,
You might have hit 200 points, Ed.
well, I probably could have scored 80 goals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Who give me a gas off story. I mean, he's legendary in the fight circles in the hockey world. Like, what was he like as far as when he would lose it as a teenager?
Bobby was he was he was really good. He was quiet, didn't say much. Um, Bobby Gassoff story. He was in Vernon with me before he went to Medicine Hat, and back then, it was they shaved rookies, and they did all that stuff, right? And so we had here in Vernon, we had just about the same number of rookies as we had vets. So the rookies, we all get together, and we said we had a meeting, we had a team meeting, and we says, okay, look, you guys get your tough guy. We'll get our tough guy. No punches, just a wrestling match. And whoever pinned the other one, I said, if Bobby Craig was the guy that the vets used. He was a pretty tough boy too. Him and Gasser were both about the same size. And so we're in the dressing room, and they went at it. They went at it for a good 20 minutes. And Gasser finally pinned him. So it was all over. So none of the rookies got shaved that year. But if it had gone the other way, we said, hey, we'll just all line up and get her done. So it was like Gasser bailed us out good that year.
He was a monster. Eddie, you ended up getting drafted by the New York Rangers in the 6th round. Back then, did you get a phone call? Did it take Pony Express? What was it like to get drafted?
It was really good. Like, I mean, it was for somebody that's all I ever wanted to do ever since I met Gordie Howe. That was really all I ever wanted to do, and I was really young. And so I get actually I was in Medicine Hat back then. You could kind of the teams could kind of talk to you, and it was okay. So they would. I had met with the Islanders. They were in our building all the time. Yep. You lost me, Jennifer.
Got you. She's in a meeting.
Oh, they lost me, or they lost the connection. I don't have my glasses on. I gotta go back.
Hold on, just wait.
Oh, no.
Did you click something?
I didn't touch nothing.
No.
But it came on. It said he texted me. Oh no, he emailed me.
He texted you right now?
Yeah. It says I'm live.
You are. He's not.
Oh,
One second.
So they want to take that off silent?
Well, he'll still be able. He should be able to hear you. It's just if someone calls you or texts you, it won't ding.
Oh, so he can still hear me?
He should be able to. Yeah.